Okay, it started. So welcome to the SIG Network meeting for January 15th, 2026. As usual, this meeting abides by the CNCF Code of Conduct. And with that, we will start with the agenda in the new notes doc. So we will start with triage. Thought I pulled up the triage. Let me just. I saw that lots of people already commented on them, so hopefully this will be reasonably quick. I will share this tab. Sure people can see this. And do we have a note taker who wants to take notes?
I'll take notes.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to the first one. So as I said, I checked all of them. Seemed like people responded. So maybe this can be quick. So first one is, why does the endpoint still exist? And the answer is, works as intended.
You can assign this to me and I'll link to the KEP where we said we're not planning to remove the Kubernetes endpoint.
Should we mark it as triage accepted?
I'll do that when I respond.
This one, next one is
sorry,
node local.
It's not accepted. It shouldn't be accepted. It should be closed, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Node local DNS. So there's like basically a feature request in node local DNS, and I think they need to probably open an issue on the DNS repo. Any comments on this one?
Yeah, and this is not a KK issue. This depends on your service DNS implementation.
Just going to do a +1 there. What do we do with this issue? Should we close it or just keep it open until they kind of open the issue on DNS?
I think we can close it.
Okay, so I will.
Do they mention the cloud provider?
Let's see. It looks like it's no local DNS they are asking for. They did talk about some AWS outage, but I don't think this is specific to any cloud provider. No, this is just the one mention. Okay, we'll comment. Moving to the next one is ingress TLS with IP certificates. So this is basically reading through it. They have an IP certificate and they try to put the IP address in the hosts. And it looks like our validation doesn't allow for this. Some folks have already commented saying that you should try this in Gateway API, and probably we are not going to be spending too much time loosening validation on an ingress, although if we wanted to, this would be a KEP. And I think it seems like waiting for a response from the original filer, whether or not either of those make sense.
So does anybody disagree with Liggett's last statement there? Basically, unlikely to add this to ingress. Anybody disagrees?
The API is explicitly marked as frozen.
It is. Although you could argue this isn't an API change, it's a validation change. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying you could.
That's my question. Why it got restricted to not have the IP? Because that happens with the Docker registries and all the stuff. The IPv4 addresses are valid DNS domain name.
So
The IPv4 addresses.
I heard someone talking.
yeah, I think there are two reasons not to do that today on Ingress. First, it's you may have implementations that they do rely on the host name to define the virtual host, and you messing with the IP will cause some security issue on something that is already working. You can be putting on your listener saying like, I don't care about the host name anymore. I care just about the IP. Depends on how each implementation works. And the other one is that this may be a breaking change. Like if you have implementations that now you say like you allow IPs, and those implementations they don't validate. If you are setting a host name or an IP, it will break. So
I'm pretty sure it will break stuff if you
yeah.
like. They will have to do something to support this for sure.
So saying that this is a frozen API and saying that probably people they are not really focusing on evolving Ingress implementations, but probably just maintaining, while they are doing also gateway API. I would say that probably the effort of doing that would be you have more impact on implementations other than a real gain on Ingress.
Okay. It sounds like I will finish this comment that I started typing up based on kind of the comments here. But yeah, I'm going to reply that generally, have you tried this on Gateway API? Like, does it work? If it doesn't work on Gateway API, that's a different issue. So
it doesn't work. But
okay.
Yeah. I mean, the reason it was put there is because that was what worked at the time, right? All the certificate issuers weren't issuing IP validation, so we locked it down and said, that's what we support. Now, to add IP support here would mean writing a KEP, rolling out a feature gate for the validation, waiting for a preponderance of implementations to support it properly. Like, that's a lot of work that I don't think we're going to do. I don't think the implementations will do. We'll wait forever. So we'll be doing a lot of work to go nowhere. On the other hand, if Gateway comes along and says, here's how you solve it, and it's actually really easy for implementations, then at least we'll have some evidence that maybe it's worth bringing back into Ingress, or maybe we just say this is one more reason people should start using Gateway.
Okay,
So
I will update the comment here with this discussion. And okay, so moving, any further discussion? Sorry, it sounded like we had a consensus. Okay. Next one is, oh, computer is very slow. Is basically adding to the safe sysctl list. As far as I can tell, it's okay. What's being suggested? Any comments on this?
We don't have any rule here, right? More than, I mean, it's always somebody coming with this request. I'm trying to say, can we be proactive, identify some things and say, okay, all that matches this criteria goes to this list?
I think this is fine because, right, we review it and then it's okay. I think really the review is on the PR. So, is this a PR? Sorry.
But Antonio, you have the right comment there. It's more than just, is it namespaced, right? If it's going to cause some resource blowout, is that put in the right place, or are you going to crash the system or cause some noisy neighbor problem? So I don't think it would be a good idea to just blanket throw in, hey, let's do these 20 that are all supposedly namespaced. We have to test them. So yeah, I think the action here is, like, we as the networking group do we believe that these are safe? What have we done to test them? Or what has this user done to test them? Or can this user who's requesting it help us write a test that proves that they are in fact safe? And then I'm sure the SIG node folks will just put it in their list if we tell them to.
Yeah, I was making the comment to try to establish some guidelines because I remember the discussion. But my question was more about how the people come with these things, because they, it's every 1 or 3 months or 1 year somebody comes with these couple things.
I think it's just like whatever Linux has, and I'm assuming Linux keeps adding more potentially, or that people are encountering the use case. Because back whenever there was a big onboarding of like a lot of them, right? And then there were ones that were left out.
What I understand is the kubelet has some kind of filtering, right,
Yes.
to pass through these options.
It's basically just a list, right? Like last I looked at, I think it was just a list of strings, and we put it in the list, and everybody's happy.
Okay. And who set these things? The runtime or the kubelet?
It's like a kubelet. It's like baked into kubelet, I think.
This part is always confusing. Now I'm mixing with the U limiting. Well, okay, I just curiosity.
What do we want to do with this?
If I think that if we all agree here and nobody wants to review, we can say, oh, this has been reviewed in SIG Network and we are fine with it. And I think that Paco will take it to SIG Node. Usually
Okay.
they handle all this.
Are we satisfied with the kind of your review here, or should more people take a look?
I mean, thank you for taking a look at it, Antonio. Are you confident in that assessment? If so, then let's go.
Look, I'm confident on what I research, but I'm not confident that I mean, all these kernel things are always not great documented and always have this way of diverging of the original purpose. So, well, that's what I found. That's how I documented that. In this case, I don't think that they are.
Yeah, like we don't have to, because they look okay to me, but again, it's like hard to tell.
The only
okay.
thing that I don't know if it matters, but the config for kubelet seems to also take a kernel version. I think it's optional. I'm assuming it just says that you can only set it if you have a certain kernel version or newer. So I guess the only other thing is to double check that which kernel version introduces these. They don't look familiar to me, so I don't know if these things are new or old.
Okay, Adrian, do you want to get signed in? I'm assuming this position for this one is maybe just give it another round and then we can just say yes. Like,
yeah, you can give it to me. I'm actually setting another issue to do another sysctl, so I can when I get some time do a whole bunch together.
how do I find you? What's the
Moisey for surname? There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Adrian,
All right.
is the standard procedure here to add gates to cover new syscuttles, or just to
Oh, I have no
YOLO
idea.
them? Okay.
I don't know. I thought you would know. I mean, I can dig around through the old pull requests and see it. It looks like they just get added up.
Yeah, I found the file with the list. I don't see any gate checks in here. So I just don't know what the norm is. It's just not something we do that often.
Yeah.
Ask Paco Shu. That's there. They used to handle that list. They have a separate repo in kubeadmin with the kernel checks. I think that was Adrian was referring. They understand better the logic. You just, I'm not. It's in China, so Adrian, you have more overlap with him.
I mean, I'm assuming they'll also be required on the pull request review. So if we did wrong, I'm assuming that somebody would catch it?
Yes. Yeah, I don't remember if there's like a version gating. It might just be a filter, so it doesn't matter. But anyways,
Triage accepted? I mean, I can do that, I guess.
yeah. Can you
Cool.
triage accepted?
Yeah.
I think we're reaching 20 minutes, so maybe just one more, and then we can come back if we have extra time. So this one looks like a test flake on
That's
service cider. Antonio?
assigned to me. Assigned to me. That one.
Okay, you're already on it.
Yeah, but I forget to.
Alrighty. Okay, maybe we'll just do one more since that one was very easy. Hosts, network, namespace, load balancers for services are not recreated. Is that what
This needs to be triaged by SIG Windows. So
okay, so this is a needs triage, but it's really SIG Windows.
Yep.
Okay. With that, I'm just going to switch gears to the agenda. If I can find it here. Okay, so I'm going to switch back. Can people see this? So Antonio, you have this item about the maintainer track submissions.
Yeah, it hit SIG Network, but it's hitting another thing from the steering. We are hearing more about that. So there is a maintainer track that usually they open after the normal track with the talks, and usually people from sub-projects, working groups, can submit a talk and eventually got accepted. It was always unclear, at least to me, what were the rules, but it seems that the rule is each SIG has one talk, right? But it seems that the reviewers of the track took the importance of the projects or whatnot, and some projects like Ingress or Gateway, they submitted in parallel, they had a talk. And at this time, we were talking with Bob from CNCF, and they told us that there is no room and they need to be strict on the applying the rules. So only the SIG network the SIG talks have been accepted, and only the submissions submitted by the SIGs, because they also find a lot of people submitting talks and they are not even in the org. There is some kind of chaos there. So I don't think that we communicated this, and now we have situations that, for example, Gateway project submit a talk, and I think that they may get it in, but in theory, at the beginning it was denied. So right now, KubeCon EU is done. We cannot do anything more than try to talk with CNCF and see what we can do. But for KubeCon NA, we have a very large SIG in scope, especially now that we are spinning off these agentic AI things. And if there is going to be only one talk or more talks or whatever, I think that we need to organize ourselves better and see how we want to proceed. And well, I have some ideas. I imagine that other people can have another ideas. And I think that after QCOM and before this happens again, we need to talk and get a consensus on how do we want to do with the maintainer track in SIG Network.
Okay, Antonio, just from my understanding, this is like more of an FYI. You're not asking. This will also just be more relevant when KubeCon NA submissions are approaching.
Yes, but I mean, if anybody, what I want to say, if people is in sub-project, is leading sub-project and want to submit a talk, now they need to know, they need to go through the SIG list. That's the rules, okay? Then the SIG list now need to start thinking, or the entire SIG, how we want to organize and put. What I don't think that we can start now. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. I think this was mostly understood. mostly. There was a weird exception with Ingress and Nginx, where they always just kind of submitted separately and always got their talks. But I think most people understood this because we did kind of a round robin the last few years of like, hey, which sub project is going to get the guaranteed slot? The difference is in the past, we'd often submit them both anyway, and we'd get them both even though we only have the guaranteed slot. And then people have started getting used to this idea that the rules are more flexible because they kind of have been. And I think the idea now is that they're just pulling back and saying, no, 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 no. The rules are no longer flexible, or at the very least, not as flexible as they had gotten. So I don't think it's like misunderstood too much. And I think like for the one that got submitted by a maintainer, I think it was just like, it seems like this is working, so I'll try it, you know.
Well,
It's always worth a try.
I can tell you from steering from other cases that was not clear. So anyway, one thing or the other, this is how it is today, and we need to organize ourselves.
Okay, now we know, and we can get better coordinated for the next cycle, which sounds great.
Given the size of our SIG, if anybody knows any way we can get on a, like, say, hey, we're this big, we really could use an additional slot. I doubt it'll happen, but you know, if anybody has any ideas.
I mean, we can ask, like, the conference chairs are just people with emails and Slack handles, and we can go and say, hey, we're struggling to cover enough of our technical topics in the one slot that we have. Can we ask for special dispensation? They can say no, but we could ask, is it something we want to go out on a limb for?
Tim, and now I'm putting the steering hat. That I will prefer if that goes through steering, because if you do that, then you are going to have 206 and they are going to come back. Why SIG Network has more loss than SIG, whatever.
Okay, great. So did you just sign up to do it?
Okay. Why I still anything? I will open the thread internally for the steering meeting, and I will come back to you. How can we have quota by, I don't know, size or...
To answer the question, though, I do think this is valuable, Antonio, because we have historically for the last like at least 3 years, I think, always submitted multiples, always needed the multiples, and often got them.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is not all SIGs are the same size, right?
Yeah. I'm just being super paranoid with this because QCon talks is a big thing, and we got escalation with people that doesn't talk. So there is some sensitive information that already happened. That's why I'm saying this. I just want to be careful because I know that everybody is trying to do with the best interest, but then these things get abused. There are loopholes. Then people find the loopholes. Then things get nasty, and it's unpleasant to work in OSs on these things. So I will take the ball and I will see how to reach out to CNCF to handle the situation of SIGs with more scope and sub-project and all.
Thank you.
Okay, Antonio. And then it looks like we don't have any other topics. Should we switch back to, there's just 3 more triage bugs. You guys want to go to do that? Or Shane, you have a topic?
No, I was saying let's do it. Let's do the triage.
Okay. All right.
When I checked, we had like 9 unassigned, which is a little bit more than it's been recently.
So, okay, this one, Dan, like you filed it, and I think you were following up on this.
Yeah, somebody picked up one of the bullet points and is working on fixing that. But yeah, it was help wanted. I guess probably I left it as need triage either because I wasn't paying attention or because I wanted it to get discussed in the SIG meeting so that we could, if there are people interested in working on it here, they would see it. And so if there are people interested in working on making the network policy test less resource intensive, there are some suggestions here. and looking for volunteers.
Okay, so otherwise we can just do triage accept.
Yes, except I think it's accepted.
I always get this wrong.
Just do
I'll-
both.
I'll-
Is this they are changing the image? Is not this person working on the thing then? This SHA.
Yeah, so that was one of them was it was updating Eigenhost Porter so that we can use fewer containers in each test.
Ah, there are more work on that. Okay, I thought
Yeah.
that was only.
Okay. We have two more, as I recall. So this one, hold on. It's always scary when all my windows get like hopped when I change the share. Need IPv6 communication this is like about enumeration of IPs. And Antonio, I saw that you had a conversation. It's not entirely clear.
Oh, this is
Why?
a fun one.
Yeah, they may kind of be suggesting that we should add more complicated downward API, but it should be what they're doing should be totally doable. I just added a comment during the meeting as well at the bottom. So
Yeah, I was just reading it over too, and I was like, this seems like it should work. And then I finally got to what they really want, which is I want the v6 address out of the array in an easier way. But today we have this soft implied guarantee that there's one v4 and one v6, but we've sort of withheld promises that that's the future state forever. So I don't know what the right downward API expression would be even. I think you've got the right answer there. Like, here's an array, please parse it for the values you need.
Which
But expand on this. Is what they want is the downward API to have the flexibility of the QCTL that you can put the JSON expression, right?
Oh, is that what they're asking for?
Yeah, because you can.
They're treating it like the pod IP's plural array is always and forever guaranteed to be one v4 and one v6, which it is right now, but we've always held back on the and forever part because Dan's shaking his head. No, you promise it's forever?
It's forever. We created constraints that existing software is taking advantage of and would fail horribly if we ever changed pod IPs.
Okay. So then should we offer a downward API expression that says find me the v4 version in this array? An array is a poor structure for a tuple, right? Like if we're effectively saying it's a tuple, maybe we should offer an API expression that says how to extract that.
But we have to still keep it as like a comma separated thing, right? Like,
well, not if you could request one element of it, right? Like the guy's suggesting there.
Yeah, and I don't want to tell them, well, use bracket 1 to get the second item in the element, because if they're clustered and never changes, then that's super brittle. So I don't know what the right way to frame it would be. Like we don't typically in downward API, we don't typically have magic words. It's like, here's a field, go process it.
So if we were going to do that, though, would it be more useful to add a way for them to force the IPv6 address to come first so that then they could just use pod IP rather than having to figure out which elements of pod IPs to use? And then that would also mean that if you created wait, would it mean that?
I thought the IPv4 had to come first for that backwards compatibility.
No. When the pluralization happened, the pod IP 0 is the pod IP. It's this kind of, there was a lot of changes, some discussions there and something wrong. Then the convention is whatever CNI returns, it can be pod IPv4 first or pod IPv6 second or the other way, is reordered in the kubelet to match the kubelet notion of IP family. The kubelet has an understanding of what is the primary IP family, and it's going to take these IPs, no matter how they come, and they are going to sort in the way that say my primary IP family is IPv4. I'm going to put the IPv4 before, and then an IPv6, whatever the CNI returns. The CNI can return an unbounded list, and the kubelet is going to be smart and choose only one IPv4 and one IPv6. Dan has more details as he has a very good PR explaining all this logic. But
So in theory, we could add API that says for a pod, this is my preferred IP family, and plumb all that through the kubelet to sort them in the preferred order. I know we've had other issues around probes and enforcing IP family in probes. Maybe the same solution could solve both.
Are you now inspiring yourself into the service thing with the IP family and prefer and all the stuff?
We had
I'm
talked
not.
at one point about adding IP family policy to pod in the same way that we have it in, or something like IP family policy, the same way we have it in service, so that you could say that you want your pod to be IPv4 primary or IPv6 primary.
Yeah, and say that because that matches. I mean, at least we have a precedent that we understand.
Right. And prime, what does primary mean? Right now we had one, now we have two meanings for it. One would be this is where you send your probes. Two would be this is the one you stick in the singular version of my API so that legacy clients can get that preferably. It doesn't answer the question of should there be an API expression to get the non-primary version, but maybe we don't care about that. And it's not clear to me, I'm writing the KEP in my head, it's not clear to me that the same value would necessarily apply to both of those use cases. And I would be wary of wanting to add two different places where we say which is the preferred IP family.
Sorry,
So
Tim, the two places is both service and pod, or just
no. The in a probe, you could imagine somebody saying, "Here's my liveness probe, and I want you to use IP family IPv6. But when you publish my pod IP, I want you to use IPv4, or vice versa."
Oh, I see. So it's like make it even more decoupled, like
right.
Like, so
and
everyone can have their own thing.
I wouldn't want to do it in two places because then as soon as we add a third anything, it'll have to go there too.
Right.
But it's not immediately obvious that it is actually the same meaning across both. Like if we just had a pod preferred IP family.
I feel like your example is very silly. Like why would you actually want to do that other than to make the API designer's life miserable?
I mean, why does a probe really need to know about the IP family? Shouldn't you be listening on both? Like, do applications really have different listeners on different IP families? The answer is, turns out, yep, they do.
Well, in this case, it doesn't. It's just only listening on one.
In this case, but for the probes, not necessarily.
But you're just making that up. Like, why would somebody actually do that?
But we have an open issue for I need to specify the IP family in my probe.
But the service is single stack.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's the people that is doing dual stack clusters to have islands of IP families, and that's wrong. That doesn't work. I mean, I have a dog. I don't know if.
Okay, all right. So in that case, it would be correct because the preferred family would be v6 or v4, whatever. And so the same, a single API declaration of preferred family would work. I'll say, for the update on this issue, I would be open to considering a KEP here. I think we should be open to it. I don't know exactly what it would look like, and I don't think anybody here signing up for it.
My question is, what if we have a special pod IP that doesn't refer the name, that is pod IPv4 or pod IPv6?
like in downward API.
Yes.
So we could. That's a different cap, because because we don't. It doesn't map to a field, right? Right now, all the downward API things are field names. Like, get me this field and give me the value. Like, we don't do a lot of processing of the values. It's just, here's a way to map the API into something the pod can see. If we're now going to apply interpretation, give me the V4 one, we've made up a magic number, a magic word that we need to figure out. And I'm not against it, but we just haven't done it before, so we'd have to think about it.
You went down that path with the DNF. Remember this person that was in I think,
yes.
an European couple? What? Yeah. I didn't remember, but you had something.
I think we put it into pod status, right?
The original proposal was to make up a magic word, and we found actually a better way of doing it through status that ultimately turned out not to be necessary. And, like many good ideas, it's on the heap of good ideas that nobody's bothering to implement right now.
Okay, so it was in the status. Okay.
We turned it into a regular downward API by making it a real status field.
Okay. So then.
So I will reply with the comment, if someone has the link to the basically having the primary class on the pod, maybe we can link it here.
I'll find it.
Okay. And any more discussion on that? I'm going to move to the next one then, which I think, Dan, you already accepted. Okay. Then we're done. This is just the NF tables improvement.
There was one I was looking at, which I was actually keen to talk about now, about, give me a sec.
Is it marked as niche triage?
I'm assuming not, if we haven't spoken about it.
It might be
No, it's not.
triage, but has an assignee already.
136228 is the issue number.
136228. This one?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You have the floor.
Well, so it's interesting. I thought it'd be nice to chat as a group. The sysctls for, can you scroll down just a little bit? Size of IP tables, I forget the name of that. Apparently it's calculated by some size multiplied by number of cores. There, those two things, NF contract max and the other one. And this person has a server with 512 cores. And so it sets it to 32 megabytes. And apparently that slows everything down because it can't fit in cache and whatever. I had commented that they can change that number that is multiplied by number of cores on the command line. I think it's an input to kproxy. But I just thought it was an interesting topic, particularly with the other stuff about Dan shared an article with me with like different size nodes in the cluster. Some could get overwritten by the size of your NF tables rules and that sort of thing.
Cool.
Completely unrelated.
That linear function comes from a time when the biggest machines we were dealing with were 16 cores, right? And we thought that was enormous. Maybe it's time to go to some sort of non-linear function for that.
What is the reason for...
You specify the quadratic function that you would like to apply to, I don't know.
I guess the first thing that I was unsure about is what is the reason for increasing the size of NF contract max based on CPU cores? Is it this machine is bigger, therefore it might have more contract entries? Okay.
That's
that's basically
it. Run more workloads, so we might need more endpoints.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's not might be, like, it was absolutely categorically true. If you had 16 cores, you were running more workloads, and so you had more contract records. And we've never been really careful about not contracting things that we don't really need to. And so it was easier to just, well, whatever, it's a little kernel memory, who cares?
Yeah. And the defaults are sort of desktop sized, I think. So, even with the one CPU core, we needed to override the defaults.
Right. So we could, I mean, again, this probably ends up in a KEP, but let me ask, Dan, in the NF tables mode, do we still have this contract scaling logic?
Yeah, that's separate of the kube proxy mode. All
That's what I
Linux
thought.
backends use the same code.
Okay, so we probably need a KEP to think about this. We could describe it in a nonlinear function. We could say it's a linear function, but there's a max to it, or we could describe it as a multiple linear function, sort of line segments that approximate a nonlinear function. I could think of 3 or 4 different ways to describe it. I don't know, like there's trade-offs. A hard max seems like it'll blow up in somebody's face, but maybe it's okay. Maybe it's good enough until it does actually blow up.
Since
Like,
we're doing
usually it's
AI, we should do softmax, sigmoid.
I mean,
Okay.
I like the idea of a hard max that is potentially configurable.
Yeah. So ideas. Hard max. Something. Okay, I will reply on this one, Adrian.
Cool. It looks like a fun problem. I'm not putting my hand up to do it just yet, but it looks kind of fun.
And then I think with that we are at the end, so we can end a little bit early unless people have open topics.
Until next time.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.